Have you ever heard anyone say I make passive income while I sleep or I earn six figures hands off? Well, some of these seductive pitches seem very tempting, but they may not be the real deal. So today, we're going to talk about the top 5 passive income streams that you've probably heard of, but may be a little misunderstood. So we're going to break them down and go under the hood a little bit.
Welcome back to Asset Management Group. I'm Andrew Nida, Mo Piram. Look, man, you opened us up with a hot topic: seductive, passive income. These headlines, these pitches, and I think you're right. Right? It's and look, they're out there. I see them all the time. You
Mm-hmm.
know, you watching different podcast shows and stuff like that. You always get these, I don't know, call it clickbait, call it whatever, but these hot titles that are like, create $10,000 a month in your sleep. Create an online store on Amazon, make $20,000 a month. I'm like, shoo, I need to do that for my wife. Get her rocking on Amazon. I need her to create some income while I'm
Yeah,
sleeping.
yeah. Instead of shopping, bring some income
Oh,
in
you
from
can't.
Amazon.
I can't say that. I'm glad you said that. I'm not saying that. Oh man, but I think the word seductive is actually pretty appropriate. And then you also had mentioned like these are much more complex. There's much more complexity to passive income strategies
Mm-hmm.
when you open the hood, as you mentioned. And so, yeah, today I think it's gonna be a good conversation. We kind of kicked this whole topic off last week, talking a little bit about passive income, and so we're gonna dive back in hopefully a little bit deeper. And before we do, though, I mean, look, we're right at the literally not even 24 hours out from the FOMC coming back and dropping rates. I think we have to throw this out here because we're sitting in the middle of a shutdown still,
Right.
government shutdown, and there's obviously a lot of rhetoric, a lot of noise surrounding this. You got once again another political divide. He said, she said. He says we should do, she says we should, whatever. But there's a cost to all of it. There's some concerns obviously surrounding all of it. We have a lot of government employees that are dependent, on this government operating, and to some extent, we all,
Yeah.
are dependent on our government operating in the way that's going to support the U.S. Population and its citizens. So, um, rates dropped yesterday.
Yeah, 25 basis points, and it's about time, right? I mean, we've had two rate cuts in the last few months, so that's really good. We're starting to see some things cool down, inflation starting to cool down. But in the same token, this week we also heard a lot of massive layoffs from companies like Amazon, UPS, and so with the government being shut down and the rates being cut, there's a lot of things that are still dependent on where we are in this economy and are we on the right path. The government
Mm-hmm.
really wants to see inflation go down to that 2% range. Right now it's hovering around 3, so maybe these rate cuts will help. But until we get the job reports, until we see is employment really cooling down, and whether this rate cut stimulates business, stimulates lending, stimulates borrowing, then it may take some time for the trickle effect to go down, to make its way through the economy. But it's a good sign. The last few times we had rate cuts, we started to see the market start to
Mm-hmm.
adjust to it in a positive way. Hopefully, we can see some more movement in the housing market. That's really been one of the big things that have been. We haven't seen a lot of refis. We've seen houses stay, few months before they actually sell because people are waiting for mortgage rates to go down. So maybe this rate cut will start to stimulate and accelerate more movement in the market, in the economy.
Yeah, and I think I know it's not the point of the entire conversation today, but we did a video. I know I did a educational video on why the Feds even exist, and how that party that department is actually structured, its independence, and why rates rise and why they cut rates. And so it's a great educational video to go back and listen to, because when you think about rates dropping, everybody's like, man, I hope rates cut. I hope rates drop. I hope rates drop. I want to be able to buy a house. I want to be able to borrow money. I want to be able to do things. The reality is rates cut typically to prevent, a trend that is looking like the economy is going down,
Right.
right? So, be careful what you wish for is kind of
Mm-hmm.
concept here. Um, but you're right. So why cut rates? Well, like you said, we're hoping to stimulate the real estate market. Real estate market's flat.
It is.
It's like not moving. What's interesting though about this, and you and I've had a lot of time to talk about this, is here we are, where you're seeing these companies do a lot of hiring freezes, right? You're seeing unemployment still hover at what 4.43,
Yeah,
something
4.3.
like that, 4.43, right? So unemployment's 4.43, but yet you have earnings that still look healthy.
Very healthy.
You've got companies that, although they're moving forward with hiring freezes, they're investing loads of capital into technology and different capital assets for the company. And it's like, you take the combination of their balance sheets, their earnings, their intent and how they're going to put money back in their business, and yet you see them hire freeze, you see them lay off people, and you see unemployment still at a higher level. And it's like, okay, these things typically historically don't line up.
Yeah.
And so I think that's one of the hardest things that we, well, for sure economists have when they're providing an outlook of where we're headed, is because there are some data points that are extremely contradicting to the history of what we've been able to be reliant and dependent on. You just typically don't see earnings rise, healthy companies investing loads of capital back into their business while laying off people and freezing, hiring. It's like those things don't go together. Obviously, I feel like technology, plays a hefty part of that. But yeah, this rate drop needed. We expected it. I think we're still expecting one more. So.
Yeah, that's the goal. Well, I would say the goal. The bet is that we're going to have one more rate cut in December, and we'll see. Right?
Yeah.
I think again, as long as this government shut down, I don't think we'll get a true, accurate data with respects to jobs.
For all of us silly people out there that threw a 1.82% loan away and bought a new house at like 5.5%, 6%, 7%, like, yeah, I think
that sounds like a true story. Somewhere.
Yeah, it does. It feels very true.
Very real.
Us silly folks are waiting for the rates to drop. We'll take advantage of it. But anyway, so okay, passive income. Look, everybody likes this. Right?
Yeah.
Let my money work for me. First, you got to make money, right? But then when you get it and you can keep it, you got to make it work for you. And, we talked a little bit about this last week. I talked about a remodel I'm having to do. I was literally there 2 nights ago at 9 o'clock at night, walking through this house, looking at all the things we've got to replace. And I'm thinking, this is a passive loss, active loss.
Active loss, yeah.
This ain't no passive income. This is like active bleed, everywhere. I don't know, Mo.
Yeah.
Sell me on it.
Yeah. I think that's why we want to talk about this, last week and this week, because some of these ideas and strategies can sound very appealing, and if done right and executed properly, they can be worthwhile. But I think some of them are misunderstood with respects to the complexity behind them, how much maybe upfront activity you have to generate to get to a point where it becomes very passive to some extent. And so, the misunderstanding can get people in trouble.
Yeah.
And so one of them that I think is very highly attractive or highly advertised is this idea of like an Airbnb arbitrage.
Mm-hmm.
Very big word, arbitrage, but essentially it's like short-term rental subleasing. So basically what you do is you lease a property on a long-term basis, and then you relist it on a short-term rental platform like Airbnb or Venmo. Mm-hmm. And then you hope that the earnings from the short-term stay is higher than the expenses to run the actual property itself.
Right.
And so sounds very attractive, right? I own an Airbnb or leasing a property. I can sublease it out to someone else. And then I make a cut from the margin from the short-term rental to the expenses to run it. Again, sounds very attractive, sounds very appealing, but there's a lot of work behind it.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. Arbitrage, to me, it's an interesting concept because when I think about it, I'm like, as an investor, why use someone else's property versus buying your own?
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like there's some real risk with this arbitrage concept, right? First and foremost, I'll give you an example. Let's say I own a rental property, okay? And it's just a long-term rental because that's the concept, right? So I have this property in Cartersville, Georgia, using it as a long-term rental. It's within the city limits. An investor comes by and says, hey, you're renting this property for $1,200 a month, $1,500 a month, whatever it is, and they say, I I would like to rent your property for $1,500 for the next 24 months, okay? But I need permission. Although I'm going to pay you your rent money, I need to be able to sublease it, essentially.
Yeah.
Right? In this arbitrage. Well, after 12 months or 24 months, however long that contract is between me and the investor, I see that he's taken my property and has been able to generate $30,000 of rental income, $35,000 of rental income versus my expectation of $1,500 a month, 18 grand a year. Why would I not just wipe him out, and do it myself? I'm like, you take all the risks. That's perfect. I think there's like a win-win for both, because the incentive. So as an investor that's approaching real estate with many of our clients, like what's the end goal, right?
Right.
With passive income, sometimes passive income doesn't mean, like, for some people, they see the term passive income and they're like, yeah, because I need it.
Good point.
I need the money.
Good point.
So, like, I need to buy an investment or have an investment that generates positive cash flow net to me so I can use it, right? Some people look at passive income and say, I just need the investment to generate cash flow to do something different, right? To pay off the investment, right? A lot of real estate investors, they're not worried about positive net cash flow today. They're just worried about the compounding effect of using the cash flow generated, someone else's money, to pay off their assets, right? Which is another great concept. Some people are looking for negative cash flow to create massive tax benefits to hedge against other taxable income, right? So I think when this whole concept about passive income, and when we look at, like, for instance, this arbitrage situation, it's a very interesting. I think the person that does that, the person that's attracted to that, has to be someone who actually is looking to create positive income, right? Because in an arbitrage situation, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, you're not really incentivized from a taxable standpoint. You don't own the asset.
You don't own the asset.
You can't depreciate the asset.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. No, you're looking for that positive cash flow, and like you said, there are risks. Right. One is, in that example that you mentioned, if you go to that property owner and say, I want to rent your place for 2 years at $1,500 a month, that's 36 grand a year. So I'm sorry, 36 grand over those 2 years. So you're on the hook in some aspects for that $36,000. You're on the hook for booking and renting this place out. So yes, if you're renting it for $1,500, if your agreement is $1,500 a month and you're able to get $3 grand a month from these short-term rentals, yes, you get that profit of $1,500. But again, it's active in the sense of you've got to continue rebooking.
Right.
And so if someone who's doing that is really in need for that passive income cash flow coming into their pockets, maybe to eventually buy their own property down the road, maybe it's to pay off debt. Who knows what the need is for? But you're right. I mean, there's no real tax benefits behind it. You don't own the property. There's a lot of risk involved in it, and as passive as that income can be, you could see how there is some active activity that's involved in creating the cash flow.
Yeah. I would say too, like, when I think about the infrastructure of that operation, if you're someone who's doing this arbitrage, you have to be someone who understands property management, right?
For sure.
And if you're starting out, I think you're highly incentivized to be the one that's hands-on with the property, meaning that if you're someone that's doing it yourself, you're not going to use a management company. You are the manager. Then you need to be looking at property that's really close to you. There's a lot of metrics I think you would have to consider to make sure it's the right deal, to put into an arbitrage situation. But your goal is to increase the margin as much as possible between your total outflow and your total inflow, between how much money you're going to generate with rental and how much cost you're going to have, because you are going to have the rent. You're already going to have the cleaning. So that's why my point is, it's like you need to be cleaning your own property.
Yeah.
Right. Which then
consistently.
Yeah, consistently. You need to be the one cleaning the property. You need to be the one, especially if, once again, your goal is to generate positive cash flow. Okay. And then I think, very contradictory to this whole topic of passive income, if that's what you're having to do, then it's not passive.
Yeah.
It's a business.
It's a business.
Yeah.
I'd say another one is like drop shipping. Okay. So this is where you set up like an online store. and then you source these products from suppliers, and they literally ship it to your customer directly.
Yeah.
So think of any type of widget you can think of that you buy wholesale. You don't have an actual warehouse, and these e-commerce stores are just literally dropping it off to your customer. And so again, sounds very attractive, right? I don't have to hold like literally any inventory. I can send a link out. Clients, whoever buys it, I get a piece of the profit from these products. And again, it can be very tempting because there are some drop shippers that earn 1,000 to like 5,000 a month if it's done and executed properly.
Right.
But again, there's some risk behind it.
Yeah, I think I would ask once again, where's the passive element to that? The passive is probably you're the one that owns the routes, or you own a district for delivery when it comes to like a FedEx. And I don't actually even know how that works. If FedEx sells, if they outsource to like certain districts or UPS or whatever. But then then I think like from a long-term investment strategy standpoint, I mean, look, you and I rode in Waymo with no driver a few weeks ago, riding around San Francisco. Okay, so like, you have to think one of the and it goes back to the very first part of this conversation, which was the fact that we have unemployment, higher than what we would like, yet we have earnings strong and companies still with forward outlooks that are incredible and loads of capital reinvestment in the companies. Like you look at technology, and you ask yourself in a situation like that, what's the biggest overhead for a company that is selling product wholesale or selling it, trying to get it to the end purchaser? It has to be delivery, right?
For sure, yeah.
Yeah, so you got massive logistical challenges. You're having to use everyday Americans that are able to tap into that system, but I'm sure at a premium. I don't know exactly the cost, but like for instance, even Pizza Hut. Okay, I ordered pizza like a week ago. Okay, well, Pizza Hut couldn't accomplish the delivery, so all of a sudden I get a notification from Pizza Hut that they're outsourcing the delivery to an Uber driver, which is pretty cool because I didn't know we had Uber drivers in Adairsville. So I'm like, oh, okay, Adairsville's moving up on the map. But my point is like there's going to come a day that's going to end. I'm sure way down the road, right? Right. To build out the full infrastructure of having, vehicles or flight managed without an individual in the seat is probably going to take some time. But the technology's there. It's already happening. I mean, like I said, me and you rode in, vehicles just the past several weeks that had no drivers. Right.
Yeah, it's a timetable for adoption, right? I mean, if you think about 20 years ago, did you think that you'd be doing online banking? Like literally not walking into a brick and mortar, speak to a teller, deposit a check. Now if you get a check, right? And who gets checks nowadays? But you can literally take a photo of a check.
20 years ago, baby, I was 19. I was rocking. I wasn't worried about no online banking. I was like, let's go. Whole world's ahead of me.
But think about that. I mean, like that adoption of not going into a physical location to deposit a check, or even 30 years ago, the vest that you're wearing, the shirt that you're wearing, the vest that I'm wearing, you'd have to go to the department store and go pick it up. Now it's pull up your phone, order 2 sizes.
Oh, it's a whole new world.
It's there in your house the next day, and then you can send everything back and never have to speak to a customer.
It's a terrible world to live in. I personally hate that because, like, there was a time, and still, like, if you go in my closet, there's the same jeans that you wear, and there's, like, the same pair of slacks you buy, right? And the same T-shirts, different colors, same T-shirts, right? Because back then, otherwise, to find something that works, you have to go to all these different, like, it's just, and then you go the stupid mall. Like, maybe this is people with ADHD or ADD. Like you go to one store and you're like, oh, I like that. You go to the next store and you forget what you liked in the other store, and then you don't know what to get, right? And so, like, we're trying to buy merch right now for the company, and I'm like, there's so many options.
So many options, I know.
I'm like,
and they're available to you at the drop of a dime.
Yeah, several times.
Yes.
Yeah, but I'm like, this is dumb. Anyway, to your point, there is a season of adoption that we have to go through. I guess my whole reasoning behind that statement is like, when you're looking to create passive income, to me, like if it was easy, everybody would do it,
Right.
right? Just fall with the basics. Don't invest in things you don't know, right? Learn it first. There's plenty of people losing tons of money and people making investment mistakes altogether because they go off a limb of what a friend says. You got to do this. It's great, right? So don't invest in things you don't know. Stick with what you're confident with, what you understand, what you've researched. And when you're looking to create passive income, to me, unless you have a secret sauce and we should know about it, it's a long-term game plan, right? And so like even this whole idea of drop shipping, when you think about how much money can you create passively long term, you have to think about the implications of technology changing that future.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a concern,
Yeah.
you know?
And with that, I mean, I know that's a very competitive space too, right? So
Yeah.
you've got to think about the advertising costs. Like, how do you separate yourself from the herd?
Yeah.
And so that might take some time to build to become, a figure, a player in this market space to just separate yourself from the noise.
We think
And
about like online businesses, Amazon, businesses and stuff like that. I mean, that's become, it used to, that was available for the everyday average, American that had a way to get out of the day-to-day 40, 50, 60-hour grind and create something on the side that really was passive.
yeah.
And now that whole space is like extremely competitive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, in addition to the drop shipping, another one is like the Amazon fulfillment. So
Right.
you fulfill your orders through Amazon. So basically, Amazon will package it. It's like a done for you. So you basically have a product that you source, and Amazon fulfills the entire package, the entire order for you, ordering, shipping, everything's sent to an Amazon warehouse. They basically fulfill your orders for you. And so again, it sounds like it's hands off because literally, again, you don't hold any of the products. Everything is just being ordered and sent and shipped out for you. But again, there are some upfront costs to that. It could take like $10,000 to $30,000 just to set up the infrastructure between buying the products, Amazon fees, and everything of that sort to even get to a point where it becomes even, I won't even say profitable, where it becomes even maintainable at that point. And it requires oversight and monitoring, right? You have to make sure that your orders are being fulfilled. What happens if a customer sends back your product? How does that work? And so it does sound very attractive that I can be hands off and have this online presence, have this online store. But again, there is some activity that goes into it, and it's not overnight. I think that's another misunderstood thing is that it can happen overnight, and
No.
no, if it could happen overnight, there'd be more success behind it. But like you said, that space is
the
crowded.
idea that you're going to be able to create something like this with no capital to start. Sometimes you see those ads out there. You need, a little bit of money, $1,000, $5,000, and now all of a sudden you can turn it into a ton of money.
Right.
When most of our clients that we work with, these are, I'm not going to say ultra net worth, but the average client we work with is sitting with, $2 million, $5 million, $8 million, $10 million in assets. And our goal is not just investment management. Matter of fact, we view it as investment management is a part of a plan, right? But when we go through the planning process, we're looking at all of these different concepts, including how do we create passive income, or are they already creating passive income? And what I see these individuals do that I think is helpful for the part of the group of the people out there that are still grinding, trying to create that freedom, financial freedom. Which, by the way, it doesn't have to do anything with the amount of money you have.
Right.
Okay. There's a bigger concept there when it comes to financial freedom and ownership and dependency. So when it comes to what these people do, I would say that oftentimes they typically they're good stewards with their money. They're non-reactive, meaning that they can handle the inconsistency and the unstableness of the markets, of an investment. They know when to fold it, So if they do an investment, they're okay if they make a mistake, and if it's a bad investment, they're willing to let it go. They're not gonna. They're out of pride. They're not gonna hold on to it, but they're willing to take the risk, And I think there's not that everybody should do that, but when you look at the parts of the person that does it well and what makes them capable of actually taking the risk and handling it, I think that's it. They're not afraid of the work. They're willing to emotionally handle the ebbs and flows of a bad and a successful investment. And when a win's a win, they enjoy it and they move on. And when's a loss is they hate it, wash their hands from it, and they move on. Right? They keep moving forward.
Yeah, yeah. They become more emotionally attached to the plan in the process
Yeah.
than the actual product itself, right? So they know that, okay, like you said, this property is part of my plan, and so if it's successful, perfect, because I'm more attached to the success I'm making. But if it's not, the property was just a tool to get to where I want to be. So they're not attached to the tool; they're attached to the process.
We're all like that.
Oh yeah,
in many ways, right? I mean, you look at like individuals that maybe they're at the gym. You know, they work out every day, right? The end goal is not the end result of what's going to happen when you work out one time. You know, you're addicted to the process because the overall result of the process is a healthier you, right? You know, people that well, I can't think of it. Oh, like, okay, my brother-in-law, random example, right? This guy killed a monster buck. It's all over. It's been all over. This is good news here.
Yeah.
It's all over Georgia Outdoors News, right?
Is it really?
Yeah, oh, for sure. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, Cole Dickerson, check it out. Right? He's a big hunter. I'm actually, my brother-in-laws are all big hunters. And, you know, they asked him, like, you know, they hunt literally in the suburbs of Atlanta. And, well, the end result was that he was going to have the experience to be able to hunt a massive deer. You know, a once-in-a-lifetime type deer in this area. Well, what did he do? He went and knocked on 200 doors of people that live in Atlanta to be able to get permission to hunt maybe 5 areas, right? So once again, it was the process of willing to go through 190 failures of people like, I hate you, I hate hunters, no, my wife will kill you, you know, type of thing.
Yeah.
All of a sudden to get the 5 that ended in the result of him getting what he accomplished. So it's no different. Like everybody does these actions. It's just when money's on the line, it can be different, you know? And so not everybody is, you know, we're not all created equal. Some people are more risk on type. Some people are more, you know, conservative, and they're just never going to go that route, and that's okay. Right. But I just think when you're thinking about passive income and taking the risk, there is risk involved. There is time involved. Yeah. And you got to be able to weather that.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're completely right. Another one that I see a lot is owning a YouTube channel and making money off of the YouTube channel. And so the concept behind it is you have this YouTube channel, whatever the subject matter is. And then, how it becomes passive is that you outsource most, if not all, of the process.
Yeah.
So you can outsource the scripting, you can outsource the marketing, you can outsource the video editing, and then all of a sudden you have, I guess, a number of subscribers or a number of likes, follows, whatever it is, and then you get paid either from YouTube and or affiliates that are asking you to promote their products, whatever it may be. And so there's a lot of ways you can do this. I even heard of like faceless videos, where literally it's just videos, not your face, like maybe some videos of automation or whatever it is, and you're just doing the voiceovers, right? So there's no real person behind it. And again, there's a lot of complexities behind how it all gets set up. But again, it's marketed and promoted as this passive stream of you just sit back and just watch your YouTube watch your YouTube channel create income for you. And again, when I think about that crowded space, I mean, we're building our YouTube channel. I mean, how many different finance videos, financial podcast channels there are out there, right? We're trying to find our way in that niche.
And if people only knew how much money we made off this video, they would all do it. That's a big fat zero, right? I mean, you got studio, you got editing, you got graphics, you got time, you've got outsourced costs with consultants. I mean, it's yeah.
And I think the idea that some people, again, the misunderstood part of it is the upfront cost and the maintenance that it takes to have a channel. It may create passive income for you, but you got to think about again, the over concentration in the market space. How do you advertise? How do you differentiate yourself from
Yeah.
everyone else? The outsourcing,
There's a
the creation
technique
content.
for
There's a
sure
technique behind it.
to be able to penetrate into that, uh, that area of the market where the winners are. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? Like I just seem like it's like this sealed up sphere
Yeah.
that the only the people inside are killing it, right?
Yeah.
And then you got a million YouTubers around it trying to
Mm-hmm.
get in, right? And so now it's like it's no different than the way the Amazon business we were talking about used to be. You go back to mid 2000s, right? You could be someone or late 2000s, 2010, 2011, 2012. You could be an individual that had an idea that could create an online store and sell a product that you didn't create by outsourcing it and bulk, holding it in bulk and shipping it out, that type of thing, building out the logistics of it. But now, you look at major corporations that actually created the product, and you look at Amazon, they're like, why would we give that money away to the little guy,
Mm-hmm.
right? Let's just bring that in house. It's the same thing. Like now, YouTubers back in, especially in the start and the creation of it, they could just do it through heart and grind, right? Now, someone like you and I, well, we have to compete with the big box firms just to be able to get into the space, right?
Mm.
So it takes a lot of capital, a lot of money, unless you're not us and figure it out.
Yeah, I think of. Do you know who Jake and Logan Paul are?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was watching. I think it was Jake had a like a documentary, and they were talking. They asked him like him being an overnight success, and he kind of stopped back and said, "Overnight." And he was talking about like how him and his brother, when they were like 12 or 13, I may get the ages mistaken, but like every day, multiple times a day, they were just posting on YouTube about whatever a 12 and 13-year-old post about. But it took time and time and time, and he was like, if you look back at his journey, no one outworked them.
Right.
I mean, it was just, again, whatever, skateboarding or whatever they were doing at that age. But he was like, no one outworked them. So he doesn't consider himself an overnight success.
Right.
They were doing this before even the idea of making money from YouTube was out there. So
That's why you, if it says passive income and it's a clickbait message,
yeah,
create passive income today, open up a store, make 10 grand a month, sitting back while you're at the beach, something like that. Come on, man. It's like the new version of the pyramid scheme.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, come on. Let it go. Like anything worth creating and worth having is going to take extreme forethought, extreme flexibility, the ability to pivot, the ability to adapt, the ability to drive through some challenges, right? And it's all a process,
Yeah.
right? And if you can't embrace and enjoy the process, then let it go.
And I say the last one, and to almost like to wrap this up, is like these online either courses or like ebooks, right? You create the product once, and it just sells itself, right? You create it once, and then it just continues to repeat. Now you may update it, new versions, whatever it may be, but literally the idea behind it is you create this online digital either ebook or course, and you sell it online, and it just continues generating income for you. Again, I think of
You got to have a platform in that situation.
You've got to
right?
have a platform. You've got to be a subject expert in some
Yeah,
aspect
you have to be
too,
a subject expert,
right? I mean, you can't have. You've got to know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's yeah. You have to. You have to know what you're talking about. You have to be a subject expert, and otherwise, right? The other idea about the YouTuber, right? You could just be someone like we had a client in here. We were doing a tax plan. Was it yesterday? No, day before yesterday. And I'm talking incredible person. Okay, if he wouldn't see this because he probably doesn't even have a cell phone. But he is the funniest guy, right? His passion is cars, right? He's just
Okay.
like country, simple, great guy, heart of the core. And like his passion is that. His son's passion is vehicles, right?
Okay.
And so they buy and remodel and just work and do that, right? Whatever that is. And so I was like, dude, you should have a show. You should just like throw some cameras up in the shop.
Mm-hmm.
And I say shop as in like it's like not a barn but a garage, type thing.
Yeah.
I'm like, because I know in my house, if Jake is ever driving the TV, right?
You watch
We're
it.
watching something like that, right? They're pulling some old semi out of the weeds and somehow making it run. That's what we're watching, right? So I'm like, these guys would be incredible,
Yeah.
right? So you don't have to. In that case, you don't have to be a subject matter. You just got to be. You just got to be someone engaging.
Yeah.
Someone that's just watching it would be fun.
Yeah.
But your point with this selling, educational content, you got to be a subject matter.
Right. Yeah, you got to be
Expert.
subject matter. You got to be expert. And again, there's a lot of upfront work. First of all, you got to create the course or create the document. You've got to market it. You got to advertise it. And again, you've got to separate yourself from all the masses that are probably doing the same thing. So could it work? I've seen it work. But again, don't be fooled or disillusioned that it's an overnight success.
So what's the message then? What's the message?
Um,
Don't look for the path to least resistance?
No, I think the message is understand what you're getting into. It can be passive. It may not be passive immediately. You've got to stick with it, and I don't know. You've got to have a plan. You got to have a process.
Yeah,
I think that's probably it. Is you've got to have a plan behind it.
Yeah, and that plan has to go outside of your financial life. And I think that's why the clients that we work with us, is because at the end of the day, a lot of times you have a husband and a wife, right, that may still have kids in the house, may not. And they've already done well. They're looking for something different. And the husband and the wife are on two different pages, right? Maybe the husband's a driver, wanting to get the money going. Maybe the wife is like, no, let's focus on our, we're about to have grandkids, right? Or whatever the scenario is. And so when you're looking at the next step from an investment standpoint, you have, you want to do something other than just your investments in the market. You want to be creative. But you have to ask the question too. It's not about, okay, yeah, you can afford it. Yeah, you may be able to handle the risk. Yeah, you may be able to suffer the loss. But is it even the right season of life for you?
Oh, good point.
Right? Does it make sense for you and your family emotionally from a time standpoint? Like is it the right season? Because it's not always about more, right? Maybe the more should be more time. Mm-hmm. And doing an investment like this is only going to take and suck more time away from you. And a lot of our clients, because they have done well and they are successful, they already have so much time drag on them already, right? So you just, there's a lot of questions there. I think to your point, you said it well. Got to have a plan.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I love it.
All right.
So that's a wrap?
Yeah, man. That's a wrap. Yeah, you want to close this out?
Yeah. So thanks for watching, as always. And if you like this video, and if you like our other videos, like, subscribe, share this content.
So we get paid.
So so we can create some passive income. But yeah, like, subscribe, share, comment, and we'll see you next time.